Hi, it's Ike from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read for you. Today, book is Curious George learns to count from 1 to 100 from 2005. So let's get started. This is George. George was a good little monkey and always very curious. This morning, George was curious about numbers. His friend, the man with the yellow hat, had been teaching him to count. Already, George could count to 5 on one hand and 10 on 2 feet. Good job, George, said his friends. But can you count more than your fingers and toes? We're going to the Centurion celebration today in our town 100th birthday party. I bet you can find enough things to count all the way to 100. Wow, George lives in a town that has been around for 100 years. He was curious. Could he really find 100 things to count? First, George counted his bed. 1. Then he counted 2 blankets. He tossed his pillows and counted 1, 2, 3. He counted 4 legs on his bed and 5 pull toys. What else could George count? 100 sound like a lot to George. Why? There was lots of things in the toy box. There was 6 toy boats, 7 cars, 8 trucks, 9 stuffed animals, and 10 balls. George followed one bouncing ball into his friend's room. The man with the yellow hat was getting dressed. George wanted to dress up too. He saw he saw 11 hats to choose from, 12 ties, 13 socks, and 14 shoes. Could you pick a pair of shoes for George? How does he look? In the bathroom, George's friend had just finished brushing his teeth. I'm going to make breakfast, George, he said, but George was still busy counting. He counted 15 blue towels, 16 rubber ducks, and 17 shower rings. It was fun to count upside down. Then George drew a surprise for his friend. 18 toothpaste pictures. In the kitchen, George found more things to count. He stacked up 19 plates, 20 bowls, and 21 cups. He arranged 22 straws, 23 napkins, and 24 spoons. Then George counted out 25 blueberries. Don't forget to count our pancakes, the man said. George counted. While his friend flipped 26. When George was full and his plate was empty, he was ready to count outside. In the backyard, George counted 27 clouds floating by. Do you see the ammo in the clouds? What other shapes can you find? And 28 apples on a tree. There was lots to do outside. George played with 29 bugs and gathered 30 acorns. He found 31 snails and arranged 32 sticks to create a design. Next time you are outside, see what you can collect to make your own nature art. How many designs can you make? Then George smelled the daisy and he picked 33. Today, he, wait, today, the day, 100 years. In his front yard, George counted 34 noisy birds and 35 leaf blowing in the air. There was something else in the air. A gust of wind scattered 36 letters with colorful stamps. George counted as he helped pick them up. It's time to go to the centenarian celebration, George, his friend said. Do you remember how to walk to town? You can lead the way. George, curious as ever, took the long way from his house to town. As he walked, he counted 37 houses, 38 chimneys, and 39 trees. Can you follow George's path through his neighborhood? Can you find a shorter way from George's house to town? How many buildings do you see that are not houses? Welcome to the sky, George. In town, George and his friends saw workers fixing up a building. There was a very tall ladder, and George could not resist. He scampered up 40 rung past 41 windows. What a view from up on top of the ladder. George counted 42 people. One of them was his friend Bessie. Hi, George, Bessie said when he climbed down to see her. Your friend told me you are learning to count. Then George walked Bessie to her school. Why don't you come inside? She asked him. There are lots of things to count in here. Bessie was right. There were plenty of things to count in her classroom. While George's friend talked to the teacher. George counted 43 sparkly beads, 44 jars of paste, and 45 crayons. On the table, 46 colorful feathers was laid out. George was curious. What was they for? Betsy classmates was making hats and decoration for the Satirian celebration. George wanted to make decoration too. In fact, he turned himself into a decoration. Then George's new friends cleaned off 47 colorful stripes of paper and a lot of glue. George is counting all the way to 100, Bessie said. Susan said, we can help. How about counting paper clips? She and her friend, Sarah, helped George find 48. There are a lot of books on the shelf, said Jimmy. They counted 49. And on the map, Henry added he and George counted all 50. All the students had lots of ideas, and soon everyone was counting. Look at the art, Bessie said. We made different things, but we can count all the arts together, 51. On the wall was alphabets. Together they counted 52 letters, big and small. George was excited to find 53 colored pencils. There was even better than toothpaste for John. We aren't allowed to write on the desk, the children told him, and they helped him clean up with 54 pink erasers. Then they took out lots of papers. And pretty soon, 55 paper airplanes were flying through the air. Here's how you make your own paper airplane. Fold a piece of paper in half the tall way. Fold down the top corner as shown in the picture. Fold the edge in toward the fold you made in the middle. Now fold the plane in half and turn it to the side. Make a wing from the front of the plane all the way to the back as shown in the picture. You have a paper airplane. George chased one of the paper airplanes past the aquarium. Now, here was something to count. Look at all the goldfishes. George counted 56. One of the airplanes landed on the cage. We have lots of class pets, Bessie told George, and our mice just had babies. George couldn't wait to count them, but the mice would not keep still. It was hard to count them in their cages. Carefully, George lifted the lid. There were 57 mice, and boy, was they speedy. When the mice were back in their cage, the teacher said, "I think it's time for us to go to the centenarian celebration. I think we should go too," the man with the yellow hat said to George. George waved goodbye to the children and counted 58 hands waving back. A moment later, the bell rung and everyone was on the move. Then George counted 59 wheels he wanted to ride too. "You can borrow my bike," George said Bill. "Right on, George. What, what Maria given to the man in the yellow hat? How many wheels will he be riding on?" Then George hopped on Bill's bike and pedaled away. While he rode, he counted 60 fins picking and 61 dandelions. He blew 62 dandelion seeds. And along the river, George passes 63 ducks. Aren't the ducklings cute? How many ducklings are swimming with the grown-up birds? Can you find the boat without sails? Look carefully. And 64 boats. He counted 65 flags. And 66 bubbles floating in the air. George was so busy counting, he forgot to watch where he was going. He was surprised to look down the hill and see the centenarian celebration in the park below. There was 67 colorful picnic baskets, 68 striped tents, and 69 kites soaring in the breeze. George was excited to get closer. Seeing the picnics had made him hungry, and he was ready to get something to eat. First, George visits the farmer market. Vegetables was pile high. George counted 70 carrots, 71 peppers, 72 tomatoes, and 73 pumpkin seeds. Oops. The fruit looked as appealing as the vegetables and tasted as good too. George counted 74 lemons, just like a monkey. Lemonade. First find one grown up to help you make this. Combine 1.5 cup of sugar, 1.5 cup of water. Heat in a pot until sugar dissolves, but don't let it boil. Add 6 cups room temperature water, 1 cup juice from lemons. Sure, pour over ice and drink. 75 bananas, 76 pears, and 77 grapes. He helped himself to some of each, and soon his tummy was full. George had eaten and counted so many things, but he had not yet counted all the way to 100. George was curious. What else could he count? And what that sound coming from across the street? It was a parade, and it was time for the centenarian celebration to begin. George's friends and neighbors had gathered to celebrate the 100th anniversary of their town. They was all lined up, clapping and cheering. George climbed the lamppost for a better view. What should he count first? Can you find George? Where did he get that hat? As the parade marched by, George counted hats. There was 78. Which hat did Betsy and her friend make at school? He counted all the pets, 79. And Balloon, 80. How many things did he have to count to reach 100? George found good smell to the picnic baskets. If you were going on a picnic, what food would you pick? George discovered 81 sandwiches, 82 pickles, and 83 potato chips. He counted pieces of popcorn and 85 ants. There was lots of tasty treats at the bake sale, and George had saved just enough room for dessert. What treat should he pick? There was 86 cupcakes. How many cherries can you find? How many cupcakes does George have on his head? Yummy. Which pie look alike? Which is your favorite? And 87 slices of pie. Wow, George ate just one of the 88 cookies. He remembered what he wanted to see next. The games. George and Olivia took turns throwing balls at 89 holes. Both eyes. Olivia scored, and George helped her choose one of the 90 prizes. Good aim. Swing, 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 pop. One of the games was a pinata. George arrived just in time. The paper pig broke, and 91 candies spilled out. Uh-oh. George helped himself just through. Then George went to help his neighbor, Mrs. Needleman. Hello, George, she called from her flower cart. Your friend told me you're trying to count to 100. Can you count my flowers for me? I have sold a lot today, but I think I have close to 100 left. Mr. Needleman was right. George counted 92 flowers, still in her cart. Then Mrs. Needleman had an idea. George, she asked, can you help me count the money I made today? The centenarian celebration was almost over, and Mrs. Needleman had to organize her money to bring it to the bank. Together, they stacked 93 nickels, 94 quarters, 95 pennies, 96 dimes. Look at the coins like a detective. Which is bigger? Which is smallest? Which coin has smooth edges? And $97. Mr. Needleman helped George count. He was even closer to 100, but he wasn't there yet. Mr. Needleman pointed to where some children were playing. Maybe they can help you reach 100, George, she said, then gave him a flower to thank him for his help. Good luck, George. Some kids was playing sidewalk games, and Bessie was with them. You have been counting all day, George, he said. You must be almost to 100. Keep going. George counted 98 marbles and 99 jacks. He was so close to 100. He only needed one more thing to count. But what could it be? And then George knew just what to do. Just one more thing, George. Go, George. George ran and ran. He ran 100 steps, all the way back to the man with the yellow hat. His friend was so happy to see him. You did it, George, his friend said proudly. You used your own 2 feet to count all the way to 100. What a perfect way to end the Centenarian day. George was proud too, and after his very full day, he was happy to be with his friend, the person he counted on most. The end. So that was Curious George learned to count from 1 to 100 from 2005. So please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.